This is exactly the kind of energy that we're witnessing internationally in opposition to Donald Trump. Fascism is recognized by every people.
Welcome to the Dollemore Daily. As I always am Jesse Dollemore. I am Jesse Dollemore, whether I am in Japan, as I am right now for my final day, recording from a hotel room in Tokyo, getting ready to head to the airport, where I will gladly, happily, gleefully, excitedly be back in Washington, D.C. at my home. Speaking of that, this has been a grand trip. It has been fantastic to talk to all kinds of different people. I have put the Google Translate app through its paces using the conversation aspect of it. It's been great. And we witnessed a protest, which I'm going to show you a little footage of here in a minute. But the overarching opinion of everyone I've spoken to, and I'm not fishing for a certain opinion of people. We're just talking about politics, what I do for a living, just to kind of get a bead on what people's opinion are. And I haven't met one single individual in this country, and obviously it's not a representative sample, it's anecdotal, absolutely, but I haven't met one person who's pro-Trump. I haven't met one person who is even Trump curious, if you will. The main question that gets asked of me and Brittany Page, whether that be in bars or restaurants or standing in elevators or any time that we've sparked up conversation, it's dangerous over there. What's going on with Donald Trump? A lot of pointing to their head, meaning Donald Trump is an addled octogenarian who is struggling with memory issues, which makes it very, very dangerous. They see what took place while he was visiting here with the prime minister, the new right-wing wannabe Margaret Thatcher type. As evidenced by this particular headline from the New Republic, Trump, 79, wanders off while meeting Japanese prime minister in an embarrassing moment caught on video. It's clear Donald Trump gets confused and walks away from the Japanese prime minister. People are embarrassed on our behalf here. And it's not just people who are embarrassed. People are outraged that Donald Trump was invited to come here and show off his authoritarian tendencies, to give a speech, a rambling, Alzheimer memory issue speech from our demented president to the troops, talking about water and magnets and a whole host of other absolutely dangerous nonsense. And there was a moment where we were traveling back from Kyoto. We had just gotten off the train and we jumped in a car to come back to our hotel. We were running late for dinner, and we spotted a commotion. There was a lot of shouting. There was a bullhorn. There was a trail of people that were marching through the streets in the neighborhood of Ginza in Tokyo, protesting Donald Trump with signs that said, "Trump not welcome." And they were also protesting in support of the Palestinian people, against the ongoing genocide, the systematic erasure of the culture there by Benjamin Netanyahu, the absolute extermination of the Palestinian people by the government and the military of Israel. They were protesting that and Donald Trump. And that's where I'm going to leave you here. I'm going to play a little bit of footage from that. I want you to pay attention to the first 16 seconds, because I think I found my new best friend, this elderly gentleman with the Trump not welcome sign, who is not taking any bullshit from the cops. It's pretty great. And then I'll come into frame and I'll talk a little bit about what I'm witnessing. Keep in mind, it absolutely was an anti-genocide protest, but there is no doubt, based on the signs, that it was also an unwelcoming brigade of individuals who didn't want Donald Trump to be here. So I'll leave you with that, and we'll move on.
One of the main reasons we came to Tokyo was because of the impending election of their now right-wing leader. And we just happened to stumble upon the protest that is taking place in the streets of Tokyo. Their signs, Trump not welcome, showing as much energy as we see in the United States of anti-Trump sentiment. Fantastic. Get me. This is exactly the kind of energy that we're witnessing internationally in opposition to Donald Trump. Fascism is recognized by every people, and this is a large movement in Tokyo in advance of Donald Trump's arrival here to cozy up to their right-wing leader, their new prime minister. Obviously, I don't speak Japanese, but some of what I did hear is no kings. These are police, I guess to keep it orderly. But some of the signs that I read, obviously no kings, and very directed, obvious anti-Trump sentiment. What a happy coincidence. We just happened to be driving toward our hotel in a car and saw the commotion, saw the signs, and it is absolutely, I don't know what the word is, heartwarming, encouraging, absolutely, to say the least, that there is a movement like this in one little pocket that we just so happen to come across in Tokyo in opposition to Donald Trump. They don't want him here. They have the no king signs. They are opposed to fascism. I would assume, again, I don't speak Japanese, but I would assume absolutely they are opposed to the right-wing orientation of their new leader and her presumed cozying up to Donald Trump and alliance with him relative to a host of different issues. So this should give you hope as well that it's not just us in the United States who are opposed to Donald Trump. It is nation after nation after nation who recognizes the threat of rising fascism and right-wing nationalism all across the globe. I would love your thoughts on this. Again, as always, you can comment below this video on Facebook or YouTube, wherever you catch it. You can also call, leave me a voicemail, 714-576-4054, or of course you can email me daily@dollemore.com. If there are some Japanese speakers in my audience, I would love some translation services, if you will. That would be fantastic. Join this conversation. Maybe we'll find some people who would be willing to talk to us on camera. We'll see.
He says he has some different circumstances that might be able to go around the Constitution, but that's up to him. We got a long way to go before that happens.
There's still talk about a third-term attempt of Donald Trump. And one of the things that I'm so bothered by, and I'm bothered by a lot of shit all the time, of course, but one of the things that really bothers me, and it's something that's irritating me both about mainstream media, but also people in my profession, and even just random internet users, is we're not calling it what it is. Elected members of the House and the Senate are not calling it what it is. If Donald Trump seeks a third term, we're talking about a coup. We're talking about a non-violent insurrection on the part of Donald Trump. He's going to try to overthrow the United States government. He's signaling it every day when he plays coy. Well, you're going to have to find out whether I'm serious about it. You're going to have to look into that. Yeah, I'm very interested. I'm open to a third term. This is coup talk. This is what dictators do. This is what people who overthrow the democratically elected government do. And we are not dealing with it like a normal country. We're not dealing with it as though we love our country. We revere our country, that we want to save our country. We want to salvage the thing we've built over the course of the last 250 years. We're not acting like that. And we need to begin to start acting like it. It's one thing to have no king's protest, and it's another thing entirely to call the problem what it is. Donald Trump is attempting a coup. He's signaling in broad daylight publicly that this is what he wants. And we've got morons like Tommy Tuberville from Alabama, the representative for Alabama, who doesn't even live in the state, he lives in Florida, signaling that he's absolutely just admitting that there are two different perspectives here. You got Donald Trump's perspective that he wants a third term, and then you've got the Constitution, which Donald Trump is going to have to work around, to get around. What does he say? If you read the Constitution, it says it's not, but if he says he has some different circumstances, that he might be able to go around the Constitution, but that's up to him. Watch Tommy Tuberville disrespect the document to which he swore a solemn oath to support and defend.
If you read the Constitution, it says it's not, but if he says he has some different circumstances that might be able to go around the Constitution, but that's up to him. We got a long way to go before that happens. Well, I think that there's going to have to be an evaluation from President Trump's viewpoint to the Constitution. There'll be a lot of legal aspects to it. Will it happen? It's very unlikely, but don't ever close the book on President Trump.
Donald Trump's viewpoint matters not. Donald Trump working around the Constitution, going around the Constitution, but that's up to him, says Tommy Tuberville. This is open disrespect, disregard for a document that Republicans voice with their mouth that they love and revere, but are absolutely disregarding. Saying that Trump's viewpoint is contrary, it's different, it's separate than the Constitution itself is a telling testament to where we are with the Republican Party, where we are as a nation generally. For him to say that Trump has different circumstances. Trump's different circumstances don't fucking matter one iota when we're talking about violating the 22nd Amendment of the Constitution and attempting a coup against the country, usurping your right to vote for who you please, usurping your right, disenfranchising you and your vote, and the candidacies of others, even Republicans, who want to seek the office of President of the United States. This is an elected United States Senator talking like this, when he should be talking like his fellow colleague, his fellow Senator, Ruben Gallego, a moderate Democrat if there ever was one. This guy is not some charged up leftist. He is absolutely a down the middle, disappointing in many ways. And he even is talking about if Donald Trump tries to seek the office, you arrest him.
Speaking of norms, the conversation we were having earlier, this is on a different topic from the shutdown. The president has entertained talk of him having a third term, selling Trump 2028 hats, and the House Speaker Mike Johnson said that he had had a private conversation with the president about the constrictions of the Constitution. How seriously do you or don't you take the possibility of the president trying to have a third term in office?
I don't take it seriously because he will, be in violation of the Constitution, and he should be arrested if he attempts to do that.
You think he should be arrested if he attempts to have a third term in any way? At what point? I mean, if he talks about it, what constitutes doing that in your view?
If he files to run for presidency and attempts to run for elections, and then circumvents and ignores the rules, I think that would be a quick decision by the Supreme Court. Then at that point, once his presidency is up, when he is, supposed to be, out of office, he's a violation of the Constitution of the United States, and he should be arrested.
All right, Senator Ruben Gallego, thanks very much for spending some time with us.
He will be in violation of the United States Constitution, and you should arrest him if he attempts to do that. That is exactly right. Ruben Gallego is on point. Leave it to a fellow United States Marine to speak plainly, clearly. When we witness different attempts to insurrect governments across the globe, whether that be South Korea or Brazil, those governments deal with it. They make arrests. They bring the perpetrators to court and deliver retribution or consequences, we'll say. Why are we not doing that? Why are we so weak that we put people like Merrick Garland in charge of the Justice Department, who sits on his hands for month upon month upon month upon month, doing nothing to hold Donald Trump accountable, doing nothing for months and months and months to hold accountable the insurrectionists who violently, in Donald Trump's name, attempted to overthrow the United States government. We need to make arrests. We need to act as though we are an opposition party and call this what it is. This is a coup. They're telling us they're going to do it. What do you think? I invite you to this conversation. We can have it in the comments below the video.
The difference between the way the Trump family is operating and the Biden family is they're admitting they're doing this. The president campaigned as a business guy. I'm not defending the policy.
You can set your watch to hypocrisy coming out of Republicans' mouths. James Comer being one of the worst. Yesterday, he was on with Jake Tapper, where they had a conversation about the corruption of Donald Trump, the open, public corruption, the unabashed, hand over fist accepting of bribes, which is what it seems like is happening with Donald Trump's crypto effort, where foreign nationals and foreign governments are investing in his weird meme coin and his company, Liberty Financial, World Liberty Financial, or whatever it is. They're making billions of dollars, hundreds upon hundreds of millions of dollars, and people who acted like Biden was the head of some crime family because there was a check that he paid back a loan, or his brother paid a loan back to him. These people, the people who did distraction investigations, have nothing to say about wanton public corruption. Watch Jake Tapper, for once, trying to get to the bottom of some truth here, talking to James Comer, and watch goober James Comer, the hurt, just drown in hypocrisy.
But I want to ask you one more thing before you go, as long as I have you, because you're chairman of the Oversight Committee. Right. There's a Reuters report today on the Trump family's crypto ventures. Based on the family's own financial disclosures, Reuters found the Trump organization's income from the first half of this year shot from $51 million to $864 million. About $800 million of that is from crypto. And the story details how most of the buyers are foreign investors and how all this money is going to belong to Trump when he leaves office. Is this something that you're going to look into at all?
Well, it's something that we are, like you, reading about this. We're trying to digest it. The difference between the way the Trump family is operating and the Biden family is they're admitting they're doing this. The president campaigned as a business guy. I'm not defending the policy. I think there need to be ethics reforms, and I had a bill that Jamie Raskin killed last session because he thought that Kamala Harris was going to win the presidency, but it would have increased the disclosure. So as long as you disclose your income and disclose the sources, I think that's acceptable. If you lie about the income, you say, I never received money from China, and then we subpoena your bank records and there's $5 million from China, I think that's a problem. So, I think it's a legitimate question. A lot of people are concerned, especially since the crypto industry isn't regulated. But if my position now, as long as the president's disclosing this, and they're filling out disclosures and they're answering questions. He answers questions about it. If you ask him about his crypto, he'll say, yes, they've got the best crypto country in the world. Now, do the voters like that? I think that's going to be an issue in the next presidential election. I think it's a fair question. But from an ethics standpoint and from an oversight standpoint, the president is disclosing this income, and that, I think, is the most important part, the transparency.
All right, we're out of time.
That's rich, coming from the guy who for months and months and months did distraction investigations that anybody paying attention, me up to and including me, said that this is going to lead nowhere. There will be no charges that come out of the investigations led by James Comer or Jim Jordan for that matter. None. All it was to attempt to damage the position of Democrats in the presidential election. It was a way to distract from their lies and their hypocrisy and the damage they're doing relative to legislation in stripping away food benefits, in stripping away health care, of demolishing the government, of literally demolishing the White House. It's all a distraction. And then when asked, hey, listen, you acted like you were a champion to get to the bottom of government corruption in the White House. Well, what about this clear corruption? And the dipshit, once again, goober, says the difference between the difference is between the way the Trump family operates and the Biden family. The president, he campaigned as a business guy. It's public corruption. There is no transparency here. We don't know who is benefiting the Trumps by buying their crypto bullshit. We have no idea. It could be malign foreign influences. It could be terrorist groups. We don't know, and that is a problem. Not for Republicans, apparently, because the dear leader can do anything he wants, as we've just talked about with a third term and Tommy Tuberville. Well, that's up to him. He can go around the Constitution. It's a problem. I solicit your opinion here. We get our conversation in the comments. It is bizarre to me that this is where we are in 2025. I know that gets said a lot, but there's a reason it gets said a lot. It's because it is alarming. It is troubling that we are in the position we are, where we are on the verge of losing our country to a malign, bigot, white supremacist, self-dealing oligarch who is now orders of magnitude richer than he was. Keep this in mind, and I'll wrap here. This just came to me. Is Donald Trump, remember when he ran for president the first time, when he wouldn't shut his mouth about how rich he was? I'm really rich. I'm so rich. I don't need this. I don't need that. You don't hear the I'm so rich talk from Donald Trump anymore, because now he actually is rich. Before, he was putting on an act. He wasn't nearly as rich as he claimed. That's why he wouldn't release his tax returns. That's why he wouldn't give us any actual verifiable information about his net worth. Now, he doesn't talk about being rich because he actually is dirty, filthy rich, a billionaire. And it's off the backs of the influence that he carries, the power that he wields as president of the United States. I guess I'd also like your opinion on that. We can have a conversation in the comments below this video. Make sure you're liked and following the Dollemore Daily Facebook page, and that you're subscribed, which is all free. Subscribe on YouTube.
These guys need to stop the BS in Washington, D.C. So they're sitting there in their prayer breakfasts. I mean, maybe they got an edited version of Donald Trump's Bible. I mean, enough of this. Cruelty is the policy. That's what this is about. It's intentional cruelty.
We face precarity in the United States. Political precarity, financial precarity, and we have individuals under our care, people who depend on the government, depend on we the people, the taxpayers, for benefits, food benefits, and the like. And we've got a Republican Party that cares not about them. We've got a Republican Party that's led by individuals like Mike Johnson who self-report to be evangelical Christians, followers of, adherents of Jesus the Christ, the philosophies of love, agape love, unconditional love, of taking care of the poor, the weak, the sick, the disenfranchised. All these are principles that are talked about all throughout the Bible, throughout the entire history of the Judeo-Christian tradition. But where's Republicans when the rubber hits the road and they have an opportunity to actually put those philosophies into action? Where are they? These are topics I talk about a lot. I've talked about them for years and years, mainly because it is my faith tradition. I come from this, so I know a little bit about it. I know a lot about the people who are now hypocrites and liars. So it's nice to see a politician, someone who isn't a Bible thumper, someone who's not a fake Christian, like Gavin Newsom, I don't even know what his faith tradition is. It seems like he went to a religious school at some point. In this clip, he's going to talk about it. But what I'm talking about here is that it's nice to see a Democrat, in this case, someone I've criticized vehemently, and I still will continue to do so when it's necessary. But of late, Gavin Newsom is doing the right things. He's saying the right things, and he's acting the right way. And here, in this first clip, he calls out people like Mike Johnson and their lies and their hypocrisy and the fact that they are not following the claims that they make about being a Christian. They seem to not care about what the teachings of Jesus Christ were. And it's just nice to see a leading politician with some power and influence talking the way I've been talking for a long time. Watch this first clip, then we'll move on to something more political.
The Speaker of the House of Representatives, remarkably once again, lied when he said, well, it's a government shutdown, there's nothing we can do about it. You can see the board right behind the Attorney General. There's been situations in the past consistently. This program has been funded during government shutdowns. He lied. Once again, he lied. It's also interesting to me because I spent a little time at a wonderful Jesuit university. If there was anything I remember about my 4 years with Father Cause, is that the New Testament and Old Testament have one thing dominantly in common. In Matthew and Isaiah, Luke, Proverbs, I mean, go down the list. It's around food. It's about serving those that are hungry. It's not a suggestion in the Old and New Testament. It's core and central to what it is to align to God's will, period, full stop. I say that because these guys need to stop the BS in Washington, D.C. So they're sitting there in their prayer breakfasts. I mean, maybe they got an edited version of Donald Trump's Bible, and they edited all of that out. I mean, enough of this. Cruelty is the policy. That's what this is about. It's intentional cruelty, intentionally creating anxiety for millions and millions of people, 5.5 million here in our home state. So again, our state of mind is pretty clear. We're going to win this lawsuit.
Some good digs there, and all true. Republicans, it seems like every week they're at some prayer breakfast. They're signaling. It's all just virtue signaling that with one hand they hold their Bibles high for Jesus, and then the other they are reaching into the pockets of the poor and taking food and food assistance money to the tune of nearly $50 billion that will leave hungry children in America. Stripping away health care benefits, Social Security from the old and infirmed, these people who claim to be followers of Jesus. These people who claim to have respect for the Constitution, who are now allowing Donald Trump to run roughshod over the document, allowing Donald Trump, they are abdicating their role as leaders of a co-equal branch of government and ceding authority and control over that branch to Donald Trump in the appropriations process, shutting down the government and harming countless Americans in many different ways. And they claim to be Christians. Now, Gavin Newsom, in this presser, he talked a little bit more deeply about what's taking place right now with Donald Trump in the lead, and that he is desperate, that he's going across the globe trying to convince people to buy foreign products while trying to be America first. And it's nice to have a political leader in the Democratic Party that is acting appropriately. Being an opposition leader, not just someone in the minority party like so many elected Democrats do. Watch this next clip and we'll talk about it on the other side.
This is a holiday season. This is when food banks are already busy. This is when there's already a lot of pressure and anxiety. And anyone that's bought coffee, you understand prices are through the roof, record-breaking prices. Right? Inflation's out of control once again in this country. Ask any of us that bought a pound of beef. Many of you are buying Halloween candy. It's up 10.8%. Just since this administration took the oath of office. President, so desperate, he's overseas trying to clean up his mess. He's telling people to buy today foreign cars, which is extraordinary, and foreign beef. He's found $20 billion, didn't he, Found $20 billion to send to wannabe dictator in Argentina. Now he wants to buy beef from Argentina. $20 billion he found, but he can't provide as legally required $6 billion from a contingency fund that was set up precisely for this moment. That's about cruelty, period. That's all this is about.
It's the numbers that matter. And when Gavin Newsom talks about the $20 billion that we gave to Argentina because of their rank mismanagement of their economy and their government when they elected the dipshit that they have in charge, that needs to be talked about. We gave Argentina $20,000 million while hungry kids in America will be hurting because they can't scratch together the $6 billion that Gavin Newsom was talking about. This pairs with the first clip about the Christian thing. They want this to be a Christian nation. They talk about the Judeo-Christian values all the time. Christian nationalists like Mike Johnson, they want nothing more than for the Bible to rule, except they want it to be the Trump version of the Bible. They want to ignore all of the bits about charity and love and grace and kindness. And they want to implement an Old Testament angry God version of their Christianity to rule the rest of us, to cement white supremacy, which is not a Christian value. And this is why we have a separation of church and state. This is why we should have a separation of church and state. Because whose version of the Bible do we choose to have rule us all? Whose version? Mike Johnson's version? Or James Tallarico's version? Or Garrison Hayes' version? There are decent and benevolent versions of Christianity out there. It's just you don't find them in Republican circles. Anyway, I'd love to know what you think about this. This is a deep and wide topic covering both religion and how we fund government and politics, how kind and graceful we are to one another. It's important. I'd love to hear from you. You can sound off in the comments, or you can call the voicemail line 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me daily@dollemore.com. If you have it within you, the desire, the want, the motivation, if the spirit moves you, and you want to help support this work in independent media that I do to help me create these videos and reach the millions of people that I do every month, I would appreciate it very greatly. You can click the join button below on YouTube to become a channel member for $2 a month, or you can go over to patreon.com/IDoubtItPodcast, and for the same amount, $2 a month, help support and produce this work. If you are on a fixed income, if you are troubled financially, if you're on retirement or disability, do not. I don't want your monetary support. Just click this, the like button, just comment below, just share this video. But if you do have an extra $2 a month, I would appreciate it very much. They believe that a monument to a Confederate traitor to this country beautifies Washington, D.C. I got a question. I don't know if it's answerable, and I'll leave that to you. I will read through the comments and see what your perspective is here. But why is the Republican Party so chock full, filled to the brim with traitors, with people who revere literal traitors to the United States of America, people who betrayed the Constitution of the United States? They are reinstalling a statue in the nation's capital of Albert Pike, a Confederate general, a famed Freemason who had a role in starting the Ku Klux Klan, a white supremacist, racist traitor to America. And they're reinstalling a statue of him to honor him in Washington, D.C., not in some deep Mississippi town, not in some county in Alabama, in Washington, D.C., the capital city of the United States, our center of government, a symbol of America. And they want to honor someone who betrayed America, who took up arms against America, who killed American soldiers. This is the Republican Party. Get a load of this headline from NPR. A Confederate statue toppled in Washington, D.C. in 2020 has been reinstalled. A statue of the Confederate General Albert Pike that was pulled down and set ablaze in Washington, D.C. in June 2020 during the Black Lives Matter movement has been renovated and reinstalled in Judiciary Square. The reinstallation on Saturday was a follow-through of an earlier National Park Service announcement that the federal government intended to restore the statue, which it says had been damaged in riots. The monument to Pike was first erected in 1901, but has long been a contentious issue within the nation's capital. You see, this isn't about wokeism. This isn't about DEI and all of the white supremacy that you hear from the Republican Party. The protests and the consternation and the issue with having a Confederate general statue in Washington, D.C. goes back to when I was in high school. The Pike statue is the only outdoor monument within Washington, D.C. to honor a Confederate general, but it does not mention his military history. Pike, who was a Freemason and was pardoned by President Andrew Johnson, has also been identified by historians as possibly having been involved with the development of the Ku Klux Klan in the period after the Civil War. The plaque at the base of the statue, which was originally mounted by the Freemasons, calls Pike an author, poet, scholar, soldier, jurist, orator, philanthropist, and philosopher. Members of the D.C. Council, the district's legislature, have been calling for the statue's removal since 1992. This is not new. It's not because of George Floyd's protests that this statue was drawn down. There has been problems and issues, obvious, if self-evident issues with its erection, with its placement in the nation's capital since the early 1990s. In an unsigned statement sent to NPR on Monday, the National Park Service wrote, quote, "The National Park Service announced on August 4th, 2025, that it will restore and reinstall the bronze statue of Albert Pike, which was damaged and vandalized during the Black Lives Matter riots in June 2020. The restoration aligns with federal responsibilities under historic preservation law and recent executive orders to beautify the nation's capital and restore pre-existing statues. They believe that a monument to a Confederate traitor to this country beautifies Washington, D.C. While the military, the National Guard, you would think they would have a problem with this, military members having a problem with an enemy of the country, a general in an enemy army would be honored by the United States government, by our white supremacist president and the white supremacists in the Republican Party. Eleanor Holmes Norton is the delegate from Washington, D.C. Her office put out this statement. I'm not going to say she put the statement out because she should not be in office right now. She is, I believe it is elder abuse. Her staff is propping her up. She is obviously not well. She is too old to be in the job, and she is not well enough to be doing the job. And she doesn't really have a vote anyway. But this is a statement from her staff, and I think it's poignant and accurate. In a statement released Monday, Delegate Eleanor Holmes Norton of Washington, D.C. objected to the statue's reinstallation, calling it, quote, an affront to the mostly black and brown residents of District of Columbia and offensive to members of the military who serve honorably. Quote, Pike himself served dishonorably. He took up arms against the United States, misappropriated funds, and was ultimately captured and imprisoned by his own troops. Norton continued, he resigned in disgrace after committed a war crime and dishonoring even his own Confederate military service. Confederate statues should be placed in museums as historical artifacts, not remain in parks or other locations that imply honor. Pike represents the worst of the Confederacy and has no claim to be memorialized in the nation's capital. In August, Norton introduced a bill to remove the Pike statue permanently. What are we doing here? I mean, look, if there's ever been a testament to the traitorous nature, the treasonous nature of the Republican Party, it's this. It is the re-erection of a statue of a Confederate traitor, a killer of Americans, and they want to honor him. It's the same bullshit that we see with them renaming the bases, our military bases, after people who took up arms against the country. But what would you expect from a party that looked the other way, that incited, that encouraged, that promoted an insurrection against the nation on January 6, 2021, in Donald Trump's name? What would you expect? The pardoning of almost 2,000 insurrectionists, violent and otherwise, who attempted to overturn a free and fair, settled American election to try to get Donald Trump into office extra democratically, extra constitutionally. It's a problem. Anyway, I'd love your opinion. Do you live in D.C.? Do you know where this statue is? Maybe when I get back to town, we'll go do a video out in front of it. Anyway, what do you think? You can comment below. You can also call the voicemail line, 714-576-4054. And of course, as always, you can email me, daily@dollemore.com. Again, I'm getting ready to get on a plane. We're going to head to the airport, obviously, a few hours early, and try to not be messed with going back into the United States by Donald Trump's Border Patrol. We will see. A little worried about that. I love and appreciate you very much. Also, to end the show today, let me say this. Thursday and Friday, Boston Brian is going to be guest hosting for me. I am thrilled that he accepted the call to spend the last couple days on Thursday and Friday while I'm traveling to guest host for me. Go check out his work on YouTube. Again, Boston Brian, we'll put a link below. He's absolutely fantastic. If you like the aggressiveness that I provide sometimes, you're going to like Brian. He's a good guy. Anyway, I love and appreciate you very much. I'll see you next time. Be genuine and take care of one another.